Hello everybody. Today I'll be showing everyone how to remove a transmission from a 1965 International Scout 80. From the side of the transmission case, which is adjacent to the driver's side, this transmission has been identified as a T90A-1. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I'll have to do some research on that, and I'll let you know at a later time. But right now what I'll be doing is I'll be blocking up both the engine as well as the transmission. Looks like there's four bolts that hold the transmission to the bell housing, and looking at it, it looks like either at the factory or somewhere down the line a bolt was removed or fell out and was never replaced, and that's sort of surprising to me. But anyhow, I'll let you know how that goes. And first thing that I'll be doing is, after I block up everything, we'll be draining the transmission of whatever fluid might be still in it. So I'll be back with you as soon as I get it blocked up, and I'll show you how it looks then. First step, I'm going to be removing the bolts that hold the bracket assembly that supports the transmission on the brace rod. And as you can see, the bolts that I will be removing are the four that are here. I'm not sure about the center one there, but I'm going to remove the four here first and then see if I get any play or looseness in the transmission. The next thing that I would be doing after that would be draining the transmission. And the plug is on the driver's side, and if I can get the light in this camera up in there, I would be able to show you where it is, and it's right there. That will be the second thing that I'll be doing. And once I completed that, then I'll see if I'll have to remove the bolts that hold the transmission into the bell housing. We'll see if we can slide it out, hopefully. Not sure if you can or can't. There's no instructions that really says whether you can or whether you're able to. So once I get those out, I'll be back on again, and I'll hopefully be able to be removing those transmission bolts that hold the transmission to the bell housing later. After removing the nuts that were nuts and bolts that were holding the transmission support bracket, as well as draining the transmission, I'm in the process of now loosening the transmission from the bell housing so I can pull it directly out. As you can see, I've made support bolts that I've installed on both sides of the transmission in place of the transmission bolts, just so that it gives it support and holds it and keeps it true while I'm pulling out. Also, the things that I've learned over the years to use instead of anything metal, brass, or anything when trying to wedge or pry something apart is I really fall back on wooden wedges. And as you can see, I have a couple shims that I've been able to help loosen the transmission from the front of the engine and up under the bell housing. So hopefully with a few more whacks I'll be able to slide it out, and as you can see, I'll be back as soon as I get the transmission out of the bell housing. While trying to use my wedges to pry the transmission from the bell housing, I was unable to pull it for no more maybe a quarter inch or so, and then when I got underneath the car I realized and did not know that there's a bracket that's attached to the underside of the transmission. I don't know if you can see it. There's it's either the head of the bolt or maybe the nut that supports or holds this bracket for the slave cylinder, and as a result, since this is still attached to the bell housing, the cylinder is and the bracket's attached to the transmission case, there's no way I'm going to be able to pull it off. So just realize that. Just want to bring it to everybody's attention that you might have a similar setup, and I'm just going to have to go ahead and undo nut and bolt right here, which I already started, and then hopefully it should slide right off. And I guess the main thing I'm definitely going to have to make a mental note of is to put that bracket back on before I install the transmission and everything, because I definitely don't want to have to do it more than once. As you can see, I've finally been able to free the shaft from the bell housing, and the transmission is sliding freely. And what was holding or preventing it from coming off was that bracket that I identified underneath the transmission that was supporting the slave cylinder. So next time you'll see is I'll have this transmission on my workbench, and we'll be taking a look at it to see what was the cause of that major leak that occurred on the way up to the Nationals this year. So I'll let you know, and we'll be back on in a little bit.